Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Lindsay.
What?
Lindsay.
What?
Lindsay, come with me, Lindsay.
Okay, where are we going?
Lindsay.
Hey, I'm responding to you.
Lindsay, come on, Lindsay.
Okay, where are we going?
Lindsay.
When are you going to answer me?
Lindsay, where the hell are you going?
Huh?
Get back in here.
But you just...
You told me you were going to help me do the dishes. Come help.
What?
Come on. Let's go. Hello, hauntlings. My name is Alyssa, here with my ghoulishly gorgeous wife and co-host, Lindsay. This is Macabre at Midnight, where we rate all things that sit on a scale, starting with the adorably spooky and ending with the truly disturbing. On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about mimics, and not the kind you find...
I was getting ready to ask, are you talking about the kind you find in treasure chests that look like other things?
I literally had a whole intro typed out here. And what I was going to say was...
I ruined it.
You did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't let me finish.
Well, maybe I had the same brainwave as your typed out intro.
I think you're just an invasive species, and you invaded my intro.
Nah.
With your verbal species.
No. So are you going to answer my question or not?
Yeah, and not the D&D type.
Is that the D&D type then?
That is the D&D type.
Oh, that's no fun. Because, if you kill those things, you get, awesome amounts of treasure.
Well, I don't think you can kill them in real life. Okay. So, two things that I want to mention. By the time our next episode is posted, we should have a Discord up, and we will let you guys know how to join.
Yeah.
So, there will be a Discord. I guess actually 3 things. We joined a podcasting network.
Woo! Yay!
We're super excited.
We're moving up in the world.
Yeah. We're super excited to join the Podmoth network. So this is a small success for us.
Yes. Yes. It's a stepping stone, hopefully, to a very successful path.
Successful career.
That's right.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's the dream.
You mean the dream is to not be pushing trash cans?
Or cleaning rooms.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about our sad lives. So yeah, we should have the Discord up and going by the time the next episode is up. We also have plans for you guys, some fun stuff. We are eventually going to put up a Patreon, but we've been talking about what we can do for you guys once that Patreon is up.
Yes.
And we have some super cool ideas. My sister has designed some amazing things that I think you guys are going to like.
So keep an eye out for that one.
Keep an eye out.
Yep. Eye and an ear.
And we now also have my sister actually made an illustration of the scale of screams for us. When we post our episodes, we're going to be posting the scale of screams on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram, you can get on there and you can vote. And you can tell us if you think these things are adorably spooky or a hell nah, or, an eldritch abomination, even though that's not really on the scale.
No, that's just in its own category because it's beyond our understanding and comprehension.
Right. That's fun. It's exciting. It'll be good.
I might also take that and put it on TikTok too, just that way it's there for our TikTok viewers. Yeah, I don't think you can do polls on TikTok, but you can definitely comment.
Comment and let us know what you think. Yeah.
Comment, discuss, what have you.
Yeah. Cool stuff. So that's just about it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into these mimics.
Yes. Not the fun kind.
Not the fun kind. No, these guys are not fun. These guys are really creepy, actually. I will say that for some reason, I have this amazing talent of trying to dive into topics that don't have much on the internet. So I did what I could. I found,
oh, that sounds interesting. And then you go to look for it and you're like, well, I guess it's not that interesting.
Well, this was actually a request. And I was having a hard time figuring out what I wanted to do. And then when I listened to one of the stories about these things, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I do want to do that. But I couldn't find anything.
Mm.
So what I did was I took some stories. I listened to a bunch of stories, like their experiences that people claim to have had.
Okay.
And I'm going to share a couple of them with you guys.
Ooh, are they spooky?
They are spooky.
Ooh.
But I took these experiences and I took what I found was common out of the experiences.
And kind of like pieced it together.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you got to do, though, when there's not a lot of information on these types of things. You just kind of, you got to pull from all the sources and be like, this is what these all had in common. This is what these things are like.
Right. So that's what I had to do here. Do you remember when we did the podcast about the black-eyed children? We did a little bit of role play.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to do some more role play today.
Oh, are we?
We are. Are you ready?
I don't know. Are you? Last time you weren't ready.
I wasn't.
Oh, no, you weren't ready for my answers.
Well, I didn't write anything down this time for the role play. I'm just going to wing it
Oh, boy.
and respond to you accordingly.
Winging it on both ends. This should be something.
Improv. I did write the intro, though. Are you ready to hear my intro?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Oh.
It's your day off from work, and you're lounging in the bedroom with the pups, watching the television. Let's say it's about 8:30 p.m., and you hear my voice call to you from the living room.
Okay.
You're sure that you didn't hear the car pull up, and you didn't hear the front door open either. The dogs didn't bark, but you hear my voice again. What do you do?
Well, I mean, naturally, I get up and go see what you're calling me for.
When you go into the living room, you see me standing there.
Yeah.
But there's something off about me. You can't quite tell
Oh, wait,
what...
so am I, like, facing you? Are you facing me? Like, what's the positioning here so I can get a right reaction?
It's standing in the kitchen doorway,
Yeah, but-
facing the bedroom.
Which direction are you facing? Are you...
The bedroom.
Okay, so you're facing me then when I walk in.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Go on.
There's something not quite right. You can't put your finger on it. The dogs also don't seem to like me.
Nah, that's... Okay.
I say your name again. What do you do?
I might take a small step forward and be like, what's up? What's going on?
I turn and I tell you to follow me. I walk through the kitchen to the back door, open the back door, and walk down the stairs. What do you do?
I'm probably approaching the back door and I'm like, where are you going? What's going on? What are we doing?
I continue to tell you to follow me, and at this point, I need you to pretend that our backyard doesn't have a neighborhood behind it and that it's actually a line of trees. I walk into the trees and insist that you come with me.
Yeah, at that point, I'm feeling a little weirded out and really confused.
Before you get through the back door, your phone rings.
Yeah, I might answer the phone.
When you answer the phone, I say, hey, what's up?
Okay, now I'm really confused.
So what you've just experienced is a run-in with a mimic. Now, before we get into our stories, let's talk a little bit about what I did find on mimics.
Before you get into that, can I actually tell you something?
Yeah.
It's just a short little story.
I'm a little scared. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, when you were talking a little bit about this interaction, I realized something that I think I might have had experienced this before in my life.
Oh my god. Okay, let's save that for the end.
Okay.
All
right.
Let's save that for the end and see if there's any commonalities in any of these stories.
Yeah.
Or you know what? No. I want to hear your story first. Tell me your story.
Okay, so you know that little house I used to live in when we first met, yeah?
Yeah.
So one day I think I was home alone in the house, and it was daylight out. It was probably in the middle of the afternoon because, I worked a day shift back then.
Right.
Back in when I hated myself to get up at ungodly hours. Yeah, so I think I believe I was in the kitchen and I heard what sounded like a voice calling to me, and it wasn't. I can't remember if it was Chris' voice or voice, but I walked from the kitchen and I said, "Yeah, like, what do you need?" Because they just called my name, and it didn't even register in my brain, like, you're home alone, you idiot. Like, there's no one there. Until I walked into the living room from the kitchen, and I stood there, and like And the room that it came from was the front room, like that front bedroom that was off the living room. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that's where it came from, but the door was open. So I could see in there.
You guys always kept that door shut.
Yeah, well, I could see in there, and there wasn't anyone in there. And I, like, stood there, and I looked around, and then, like, I went over, and I peeked down the hallway. And then I believe I checked outside to make sure there was no cars or anything. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell was that? Like, there's no one here. And creeped out, I went over and shut the door to that room and then went back to what I was doing and just pretended that didn't happen.
I hated that
because I was
house.
really weirded out, okay?
I hated that house. Was there a window open anywhere?
I don't know. I didn't go in to investigate the room because I was too creeped out by it.
So if the window was open, you just left it. You just like shut the door.
Yeah, I just shut the door and was like, I'm not going in there. That room's dead to me.
That room's dead to me. Okay. That's a little dramatic.
No, that's why it became a storage room, you know. There's
That's why it became a storage room?
Well, that and we just didn't have another roommate.
That room was bigger than both of your guys' rooms.
I know, but it was creepy. That room was creepy. Not that my room was any better, but it was still creepy.
All right.
But yeah, let me know. Well, I guess we can discuss it after.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it after. I'm going to tell you these stories.
Because I'm curious to see if it kind of matches up.
All right. The entity that you were dealing with here in our little role play is a mimic, a demon.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
This is not to be confused with the doppelganger, which the doppelganger is when we see ourselves.
Yeah.
A mimic is generally something that other people see.
Okay, so it's like if I saw two of you.
Right. You would see the mimic, I would see a doppelganger. And they're two different entities, okay? So a doppelganger is like a death omen.
All right, so doppelgangers are not demons.
No, they're omens. Now, the bulk of the information that I found on mimics that wasn't stories from Reddit or whatever were from like Christian sites.
Okay.
And they kind of state that a mimic is a demon that possesses you and makes you mimic other things. So like one site that I was on described mimics as basically bad churches that are bad at Christianity, that like treat people like garbage and just aren't following the word of Christ. So that's what the church looks at a mimic as. So anyone can have a mimic, but the biggest, I guess, population, I don't know. The bulk of mimics are people who claim to be Christian, but who are really just bad at it. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's what those...
I'm a mimic, and then if that's the case...
No. That's not what it means. We're talking like people who milk people for money for the church, but like take the money.
Oh, you're talking about like this is a church that is like extorting people.
Yeah, we're talking like people who cherry pick the Bible, like that type deal, okay?
Oh,
we're not talking about people who genuinely just try to be decent people.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what they said a mimic was. However, the accounts that I have right now seem to say differently. Looking past the Christian thing here. Mimics are a spirit, again, specifically a demon, that is able to mimic the voices of people. It'll generally hang out in houses and listen to the voices of people. It starts out mimicking the living. It will move on to mimic the deceased.
Oh, no.
And it will generally use this to scare people in the home. Once people begin to feel fear, then they begin to feed on that fear and eventually develop or eat enough energy to manifest.
So then they can show a form, right?
Then they can show a form.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
These forms, however, are not... So it's generally someone in the house.
Yes.
But it's never a spitting image of them.
So something's always not right.
Right. So it'd be like you, but with green eyes instead of brown eyes. So I have a couple of stories here. Now, again, these stories, I listened to them online. I heard them on other podcasts. Again, it was really difficult to find much of anything outside of stories, though I did read several stories. But the stories that I picked all had commonalities.
Yeah.
I don't think that I found anything online that I felt fit in with these. So these are all from the podcasts that I listened to.
Okay.
One was Cryptonauts, which we've mentioned before.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think the other one was called Spilled Silver.
Ooh.
And I will post the links to the episodes that we listened to so you can go listen.
I like that name. Sounds fancy.
It's like three brothers, I think. But I will post the links so that you can go and listen to them. I don't generally like to share stories that are on other podcasts. Like, I'll listen to other podcasts for information.
Right.
But I try not to share stories that other podcasts have already shared.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in this case, I really didn't have much to bring to the table. I tried to hunt the stories that they told down on the internet. I couldn't find them. So I don't know if they have the links in their references, but yeah.
Hey there, my name is Bree.
And I'm Suze.
We're the hosts of Crime and Spirits, a true crime and cocktail podcast. Do you love spooky stories and all things true crime?
How about themed cocktails? Do you love those too?
Well, that's perfect, because so do we.
Yeah, in fact, we love them so much, we made an entire podcast all about it.
Every week, we bring you a new episode that covers a different case or topic of interest. But first, we'll need drinks.
Don't you worry, we've got you covered there. Every week, we'll teach you how to make a handcrafted cocktail that ties into the theme or topic in some way.
So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much every other platform available. So buckle up
and sip tight.
We can't wait to talk some true crime with you. Bye!
So, our first story is our longest story.
Okay.
Our protagonist in this story is a teenager. And because I don't have the capacity to remember anything, we're going to call him Brian.
Sounds legit.
So, Brian and his parents have gone on a visit to stay with his older sister in her home. This is going to be a nice little family vacation, and Brian's family has made plans for the following day. The family enjoys their visit together, they catch up, they have dinner, and then everyone turns in for the night. As they're saying goodnight to each other, it's important to note at this time that as everyone is going to bed, Brian's mother is wearing a blue nightgown that is long, and his sister is wearing an orange nightgown that goes to her knees. And while they look like mother and daughter, their features are distinguishable from one another. Mom looks more feminine, she has very delicate features, and sister has features that are more like dad. Mom's also on the heftier side in her build, and our sister is taller with an athletic build. Additionally, Mom wears round glasses, and sister wears glasses that are squared off. Brian's sister returns to the guest room with her child, having let their parents sleep in her bed for the night, and Brian makes himself cozy on the couch. Around 3 a.m. in the morning, the teenager decides that he should try and get some sleep, shutting the television off. Time passes, and poor Brian is unable to fall asleep, so he decides to look at some photo albums of the family. Losing himself as he looks over the images, several more hours pass, and the sun begins to lighten the sky. At this time, the teen decides that he has been up long enough, and that he's just going to stay up and truck through the day.
Oh boy.
He's also growing bored, though. He's been up by himself for a while, and now he's waiting for someone to wake up so that he can have someone to talk to.
Makes sense.
Around this time, he sees his sister coming down the hall.
Okay.
He calls out to her before noticing that this may not be his sister at all. There's something off about her. He watches her for a moment as she goes into the dining area where he was previously looking at photos. He calls out to her again, but she ignores him. As he looks her over, he notices this woman is a mishmash of his mother and his sister. She has a nightgown that is striped in orange and blue. She has features in her build that are somewhere in between the two of them, and the glasses that are on her face are square on the top and rounded off on the bottom. Brian watches as the she thing goes from the table and looks in wonderment at the images that have been spread out on the table, even uttering small noises of fascination. These are pictures that everybody in the family has, and they've been in the family for a long time.
So they wouldn't be anything new. You wouldn't be like, ooh.
Right.
Oh. Ooh.
Right. Your damn eyebrows.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know. I wish you did. You will know when we're YouTubing.
See, when we're YouTubing, people will be able to get that full force, that eyebrow waggle.
The eyebrow waggle. Add that to the
yeah.
list. At this point in time, Brian decides to pretend that he's asleep, and to his horror, this thing makes its way into the living room, looking at the photo album beside him. Brian stares at the thing with his eyes squinted, and he notes that her eyes are milky white.
Ew.
And he decides he's just going to lay there and pretend that he's asleep until this thing leaves.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, what do you fucking do at that point?
I don't know, because it's like right there, so you can't just get up and be like, ah! Like run around like with like Kermit the Frog, you know, with your arms flailing and
Your noodle arms?
flapping around. Yeah.
His sister's cell phone goes off. Okay, she left it out there. It goes off.
Oh no.
And it causes him to scream.
Oh shit.
As he opens his eyes, the thing stares at him,
Oh.
bewildered, before unhinging its jaw like a snake and repeatedly screaming, "No, no, 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 no." It screams these words angrily before it turns and runs down the hall and into the basement.
I'm just like trying to fathom what the hell I just heard. Ugh.
You'll never recover from this.
No, that's nightmare fuel.
Yeah, you're not recovering.
I guess it was pissed that its form wasn't complete and it was caught.
I don't think that that's... You know what? Stories,
It was
okay?
like, oh shit, I've been had.
Yeah. I've been had.
All right, go on.
Brian remained there awake and horrified until his mother and sister finally came out, chatting over coffee and finally addressing the way he was just staring at them. Against his better judgment, Brian shares his story, and neither his mother nor his sister believe him, even going so far as to check the basement only to find nothing. It is also mentioned somewhere in the original story, if you go back and listen to it, that Brian's sister noted her window had somehow been tampered with and the screen was out, leaving Brian to believe that maybe this thing came in through her window and got a glimpse of mom and daughter before going to the living room. After all, it came down the hall.
Yeah, that's gross.
That's story number 1.
I'm still trying to figure out what happened in that last story.
A milky-eyed snake woman
Yeah, I
took
know.
on the form of his mom and his sister.
I kind of imagine when she like fled, she like turned into a snake thing and like slithered away.
What?
Not like ran away, but with like.
When you picture these things in your
Yeah.
head, like they're never, like when I picture them, it's never realistic. Look, I mean, that's not realistic looking, like a woman unhinging her jaw, but you get what I'm saying? Like in my head, it's almost cartoony.
No, that's not what I'm imagining. I'm imagining more like, I guess since I played more games, it's like video game graphics of like this snake, like this snake woman just yelling at him and then like slithering away.
Okay. Well, okay. So let's look at story number 2 here. A girl, again, who I don't have the name of. I swear I didn't make these stories. I just can't remember names. Okay. But pretty sure they were identified by like internet monikers anyway.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
So
Protect identities and such.
So we're just gonna call her Angelica.
Okay.
So Angelica is out with her family on a ski vacation. Her aunt and cousin have joined them, and they're staying at a resort. Angelica's cousin, give him a name.
Tom.
Angelica's cousin, Tom.
Holy shit, I just realized what we did.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry. I did not do that.
Weren't they cousins?
Yes.
Oh!
I didn't do that on purpose. That was totally subconscious.
No, you know what? His name's Tom. So anyway,
Tommy Pickles.
there's a dog in this story. I gave it a really cute name, but now I'm gonna call it Spike. No, but anyway. So Tom has irritable bowel syndrome.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
That's the real horror story here.
Yeah.
Angelica is sure he's in the bathroom because she can hear him shuffling around, and she said goodnight to everybody else. Waiting to go to bed, but wanting to give him his space, she hangs out for a while before she finally calls to him and lets him know that she has to use the bathroom so that she can go to bed. Tom, whose room is right next to the bathroom, and obviously is no longer in diapers, Opens the door and tells her to stop yelling because he's already gone to bed and he's trying to sleep.
Uh-oh.
Shocked, Angelica opens the door only to find that the window is knocked out and there's no one in the bathroom.
I think that you should immediately leave.
Okay.
Everyone should pack up and leave.
Without the context of mimics,
Okay.
what would you do?
I would probably go wake the adults and be like, hey, the window's busted out in the bathroom. And I heard someone in there.
Okay. I would go call 911 because I would feel like there was an intruder.
Right, yeah. That's what I was kind of getting at. Is like somebody's probably broke in.
Okay, let me ruin this for you. They're on the second floor. So there's not really a way for anyone to get up there.
Yeah, so we're packing up and leaving.
This is where it gets real gross now. Like, real fast.
Trigger warning.
Not that kind of gross. Just, like, really creepy.
Yeah, well, still, trigger warning.
Okay. The following night, Angelica's dog is asking to go outside and go Potty.
Gotcha.
We
Yeah.
have to spell it because we have dogs.
Yep.
And they're being good right now.
And it's almost 4 a.m, and I don't want to go out there. Not after this.
Going to the back door, she lets her out, and her dog, who we're going to call Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats.
Yeah, because you're going to remember all that.
I think I will. Okay. I'm going to prove it to you.
Uh-huh.
Say it with me. Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats.
Okay.
So Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats starts losing her mind and goes running off into the woods.
Why wasn't dog on leash?
I don't know. Maybe she was like Bowser or Eros, where she's
Off
leash trained. But maybe she heard something in the woods. Angelica chases after her, but decides she doesn't want to go into the woods after the night prior. She waits for her dog, calling for her, and suddenly Puppo goes silent.
Uh-oh.
After several moments, Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats finally comes out and heads back to the house with Angelica. As they enter the house and get into the light, Angelica notices that...
That's not your dog, bro.
Let me finish the story. As they enter the house and get into the light, Angelica notices that Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats is walking kind of funny on her back legs. Angelica calls her dog's name, which is Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats, by the way.
Uh-huh.
And Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats looks at her in the eyes. But her eyes are human.
Oh, no. No. I hate that.
Angelica panics, and the dog runs out the back door and back into the woods. And when Angelica looks into the living room, she realizes that Sugar Dumpling Honey Bunches of Oats is sitting in the living room.
Like the real dog?
Yes. Like, no weird human eyeballs. The next day, Angelica is trying to tell her aunt about the occurrence as they're prepping to leave. But of course, Auntie chalks it off to her imagination and asks her to go get Tom to let him know that it's time to go. She goes out back where he is and tells him that it's time for them to leave. The car is packed up. But her cousin tells her that he needs to show her something first.
Don't go.
She tells him again, but he just repeats himself as well, before repeating it to her again and again. And if I'm remembering correctly, he's getting more aggressive as he's saying it.
Ooh.
Angelica's gut tells her not to listen, and she tells him that they need to go. Her aunt is waiting. Tom insists that they need to go, heading into the woods and running full speed into the trees. Next, she goes into the house, and her cousin is in there.
Well, I'm glad she didn't follow out into the trees.
Yeah, me too. So I had a few other stories, but I really don't think I'm going to have time to really dive into all the stories. So I'm just going to give you a real quick rundown of them.
Okay.
In one of these stories, there was a gentleman who lived in Argentina, and he was staying with his grandfather, who was a devout Catholic. Apparently outside, there were some neighbors, and they were playing drums, doing some sort of weird ritual.
Yeah.
And when he walked out there, they would just stare at him.
Okay, that's not creepy or anything.
His grandfather told him that he needed to stay away from them, and that if they talk to him or anything, to just ignore them. So he did. But the next night when he goes to sleep, his grandfather wakes him up and says he needs him to come help him with something.
In the middle of the night?
In the middle of the night. And this guy, being a good kid, listens to his grandpa, gets up, goes outside with him, and his grandpa's trying to take him into the woods. So he tells his grandpa he'll help him in the morning and goes back inside. Feeling kind of weird about it, he goes into his grandparents' room, and they're both in bed.
Yeah, good on him.
In another story, this kid was climbing a tree, and his mom was in the house cooking dinner. And when she's in there cooking dinner, he is waiting for her to call him. And when she does call him, she calls him from the woods.
Yeah.
So he climbs down the tree, and he goes to see her, goes to see what she wants, but then she calls him from the house. From the woods, she's getting annoyed. She's getting irritated while she's calling him.
Oh.
Okay? And when he hears her calling him from the house, the one from the woods says, "Come here right now."
Yeah, that's weird. That's red flags. Red flags all over. Like, don't go over there.
So at that point, he turns around and he goes in his house.
Good.
Okay.
Because death awaits.
Yeah. Those are a few stories that I chose specifically because they had some really strong similarities in them.
Yep, right.
A couple of the stories had windows that had been removed, which indicates that they came into the house through the window. All of the stories had these things talking, but getting aggressive or angry toward the end of the encounter.
Right. Like, because you weren't listening or paying attention to them.
Right. Another thing that you may have noticed is when they speak, they repeat themselves.
Right.
They just say the same thing over
It
and over
doesn't
again.
matter what you say to them. They just keep saying what they want to say.
Which is weird because it makes it sound like maybe they... Because I said in the beginning that they'll like practice... Did I say they'll practice? Yeah, they practice voices.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just reciting that one thing.
That's weird. I kind of like, you could put this in a horror movie, I feel like, and I kind of imagine like this distorted voice, just like as they're talking more and more, it starts to get distorted and stuff.
Well, that is another thing, is a lot of these stories say that the voices don't quite sound right.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I want to point out is that the bulk of these stories, with the first one being the exception, these things all go back into the woods. They're near the woods.
Right.
So whatever these are living in the woods.
I don't like that.
Additionally, all of the people who witnessed these were up at night. It was in the evening time, with the exception of the last one, the little boy who was playing in the woods at dinner time. They all happen at night. They all happen to people who are having a hard time sleeping or who are staying up.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad we're discussing this late at night.
Yeah.
It's not like we live by the woods or anything that are right across the way.
You just ruined my first narrative where I walked you out the back door into the neighborhood. I forgot there were woods out front.
Yeah, and out back, up in the hills.
There's still, I mean, I guess. I feel like those are just like spots of trees. So some people think that these guys are Wendigos.
You know, I had that thought when you first mentioned it, because Wendigo do mimic voices like that.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm not really sure, because I also know that Wendigo, or at least I think Wendigo, don't change bodies and things.
Here's the thing. Okay, Wendigo don't change bodies. Skinwalkers can also mimic voices.
Oh, what?
And they can change shape. However, they're not necessarily in this area.
In the woods, yeah, they live out west.
Yeah, right. But in Appalachia, remember, they say you'll hear things mimicking voices. You'll hear your name being called. You'll hear whistling. And you have to pretend that you don't hear these things, okay?
Right.
So, weirdly, things are kind of tying in together. Let me shake you up a little bit.
As if you hadn't already.
Let me shake you up a little more.
Okay.
There were a few descriptions of these guys in some of these stories, like their actual forms in the woods.
Oh, good.
And they were described as being tall.
Yeah.
Thin.
Okay.
Bald.
Emaciated.
Okay. They would like run on all fours or like lean forward. They were pale or gray. Does that sound familiar to you?
It sounds like the description of the rake, honestly.
or the Wendigo.
Mm.
So
Maybe all of these cryptids, like we are saying, are different or just one thing.
or like different variations. So if you recall in the Black-Eyed Children episode, I said maybe they're vampires, and you were like, well, then that would change what vampires are. Well, no, there are different types of demons. There are different types of angels. There are different types of vampires. So what if this is just some other sort of entity that has, it's almost like ecotypes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like there's different ecotypes. The killer whale's like the perfect example.
Mhm.
So there's like 3 different types of killer whale. And they're all killer whales, but they don't eat the same thing. Their patterns aren't the same. Their calls aren't the same.
But do they all look similar?
They all look similar.
Oh, okay.
They're all killer whales.
So they're all like black and white.
They're all black and white, but it's like their saddle on their back is different.
There's just like some minor differences.
But they're large enough that they don't even breed together.
Right.
They won't breed together in the wild. So, I mean, is that what we're seeing here?
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be because, I discussed before, like if you compare this to the rake for the example, like, it can't mimic voices, but it has glowing eyes.
And it gets into your house, apparently.
Through the window.
Oh, yeah. Ew.
Yeah.
I quit this podcast.
Sorry, my dear, you chose to be here.
Well, now I'm quitting.
Nope.
It's all yours.
No.
You inherited it.
I don't think so.
Adios. I'm leaving now. Bye-bye. Gone.
No.
But yeah, those are some theories on what this thing might be. Ultimately, at its core, it's believed to be some sort of demonic entity.
So no bueno.
No bueno.
Not good.
No.
So you remember that story I told you at the beginning of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think? You think this could be that, but like on a very basic level?
I don't know. Only because I feel like if they do what we discussed they do at the beginning.
Yeah.
If they feed off of fear.
Right.
And are able to manifest physically. Then I believe in that house that would have happened. Because Crystal, I feel like, was very freaked out.
She did.
House.
Actually, I wasn't the only one who had that encounter either. She told me maybe a week or 2 later that she had experienced a similar thing.
Oh, yeah?
When she was home alone. So it would only happen when there was only one person in the house.
Which is actually, I'm glad you said that, because that is actually something that generally only one person witnesses what's happening. And even if there's someone else in the area as it's happening, that other person doesn't generally hear anything.
Right.
So there was one story about a lady who was in bed with her husband, and she could hear this thing outside of her bedroom door, like practicing their voices. Not really saying intelligible words.
Yeah.
Just making noises, but it was in her husband's voice and her voice, but he was laying right next to her. And she could hear it like scratching.
I feel like I listened to a creepypasta like that was like this not that long ago, where there was a thing at this guy's door. He was like yelling at it and he could hear it outside, like practicing, like copying his voice.
Yeah, you did. We did listen to that one. We listened to that one when I did the story about the Wendigo.
Exactly.
That was about a skinwalker, because I was going to post it because I thought it was about a Wendigo, but it ended up being a skinwalker. But yes, you're right. And so this thing feels very Appalachian to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I feel like maybe if that was what we were kind of on the start of experiencing in that house, if we would have stayed there longer,
it could have gotten bad.
It probably could have gotten worse, because the house had a lot of problems. I mean, there were shadow people and things around,
That was an incredibly active house, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just all around like a hot spot for activity. So I definitely think that it probably would have gotten worse if we probably would have stayed there longer.
If any of you out there have spirits living with you, the most important thing that you can do is not be afraid. Because at the end of the day, we are on the physical plane. This is our ground. This is our turf. This is our territory. The best thing that you can do when these things are bothering you or trying to scare you is just recognize it's just something without a body or someone without a body. A lot of times these entities are just humans who are projecting themselves as something else.
Yeah, I mean, those ones, I could see that. But, like, something demonic, I feel like is quite serious.
It is. But, like, again, these things feed on your fear
Right.
to strengthen themselves. So I would say at the first instance that you feel something in your home, tell it to get out. Tell it to get out, do a cleansing, whether that's, inviting a priest in or burning incense or whatever you do, tell it to get out.
You have to mean it, though. You can't be wishy-washy on that, because if you don't mean it and you're not clear with setting your boundaries, then it won't.
It's not going to leave.
It's going to make it worse, probably, actually.
And you, again, are on the physical plane. This is your plane of existence. So it has to listen to you when you tell it to leave. These lower vibrational entities are attracted to fear and anger. And these sorts of things feed them. They make them stronger. And the best thing that you can do is just kick it out the way you would an annoying house guest. Just be firm and it's time for you to leave. This is my home and you have to go.
Right, because if you think about it, if it does get stronger, then yeah, it could potentially manifest into something that could potentially be harmful to you.
So you need to nip it in the bud before it does.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you rate these mimics?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. These are 100% Eldritch abominations in my scale. Okay.
You faced one, and you would call them Eldritch abominations?
I didn't know what that was, because yes, it creeped me out when it happened, but it didn't like manifest into something. Like, it didn't turn into the person that I thought I heard. If that had happened, I probably would not have stayed there as long as I did.
Okay, that's fair.
Because like shadow people and stuff, yeah, they're creepy, and they make me uncomfortable, but they, like, you could live with them per se, in a, kind of uncomfortable way, I guess.
Yeah.
But like something like this, like in its full, like, manifested form, nah, no way. I'll never be going there again.
I'll never be going there again.
Yeah, exactly.
These guys, I would say, are a nope, don't like that for me. They're a nope, don't like that. Because the second I hear you talking, and I know you're at work, or you're not you're napping or whatever, like the moment I hear you talking, I'm getting out the copper pans and bang, 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 get out of my house, ringing bells, ding, ding, ding.
See, you doing that. I'm just like, I'm picking up and I'm getting in the car and I'm driving away and I'm never coming back. And that's the end of it. It's just, see you later. Never again.
No, it's a nope, don't like that. But I don't feel like this is something that I couldn't handle. And that's not saying that I want one to show up.
I just, anything demonic, I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to anything to do with it.
Well, if you run from it, it can just follow you. That's the thing about demonic entities. So, like, you have to either get a professional in to get rid of them, or you have to
That's
get rid
if
of
it,
them.
like, attaches to me. And if I don't stay long enough for it to do that, I can outrun it.
Okay. I can outrun it. Yeah. Okay. So that is a mimic. You guys keep an eye out for the scale on Instagram. Let us know what you think. Do you guys think that these are adorably spooky? I hope not.
You're nuts if you think these are adorable in any way.
Do you think it's an all hell no? Do you think that it's truly disturbing? Or do you think that it's an eldritch abomination? Let us know. And if you like this episode of Macabre at Midnight and you're into spooky things, then you can catch us anywhere that you listen to your podcasts and YouTube. You can also help us out by liking, rating, and subscribing. That helps us reach more listeners. It helps us get out there. And we're always looking to improve, and we want to hear what you guys have to say. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok. You can find those links in our biography wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you want to hear us talk about something that you think fits on the scale of screams, or you have an experience or short work of your own horror fiction that you'd like us to share in our listener library, then just email us at macabatmidnight@outlook.com. That's MACAB@midnight@outlook.com. Remember to lock your doors, sprinkle a little bit of salt in the carpet, check under your bed, stay spooky, and we will see you in your nightmares.
And remember, if you see someone and they look a little strange, it probably is a little strange.